Want to know the secret to success? What if I told you it's not about being a natural?
Hmm, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Well, today we're diving deep into Carol Dweck's book, Mindset, The New Psychology of Success.
Oh, that's a classic. I'm excited to hear your take on it.
It explores how your beliefs about your abilities, your mindset, can seriously impact what you achieve.
I can definitely see how that would be important.
And it's not just some fluffy self-help stuff either. Dweck backs up her ideas with solid research and real-life examples.
Research is key. I'm all about evidence-based approaches.
Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel for more deep dives like this.
Absolutely, folks. You won't want to miss out on these insightful discussions.
Today, we're going to be unlocking the potential you might not even know you have.
Let's do it.
So the core concept here is this contrast between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset.
Yeah, it's like two completely different ways of seeing the world.
Okay, so walk me through this. What's the difference between these two mindsets?
Imagine just for a second that human qualities are like stone carvings.
Stone carvings.
Yeah, that's the fixed mindset. You're either born smart, athletic, artistic, or you're not. It's all about proving you have these fixed traits.
So you're kind of stuck with whatever label has been put on you.
Exactly. You're constantly seeking validation, trying to prove you're worthy.
That sounds exhausting.
It can be, but the growth mindset flips this on its head.
Oh, how so?
It says human qualities are like plants that can be cultivated.
Cultivated, like you can nurture them and help them grow.
Exactly. It's all about effort and learning.
Mm.
Intelligence, personality, skills, they're not set in stone. You can actually grow and change them.
So if you're not good at something, it doesn't mean you'll never be good at it.
Right. It just means you haven't developed that skill yet. There's always room for improvement.
I love that. So it's really about focusing on the journey, on continuous learning and development.
Absolutely. It's about embracing challenges and seeing setbacks as opportunities to grow.
And this is where things get really interesting, because the growth mindset opens up a whole new world of possibilities.
Oh, definitely. It shifts the focus from proving yourself to constantly learning and developing.
Which makes me think of those kids Dweck talks about in the book, the ones who had to choose between doing an easy puzzle again or trying a harder one.
Oh, yes. That's a great example.
What happened there? Remind me.
Well, the kids with the fixed mindset, they just clung to that easy puzzle.
Why?
They didn't want to risk looking dumb by failing at the harder one.
Ah, I see. But the kids with the growth mindset.
They jumped at the challenge.
Wow, really?
Yeah, they saw it as a chance to stretch their abilities.
So they were excited to learn something new, even if it meant making mistakes along the way.
Exactly. They weren't afraid of failure. They saw it as a part of the learning process.
That's fascinating. And if we're honest with ourselves, haven't we all been in those situations where we chose the easy puzzle?
Oh, absolutely. We've all fallen into those fixed mindset traps. But the key is to recognize those patterns.
So we can start to change them.
Exactly. And that's where the real growth begins.
So, we often hear that failure is a part of learning. But how do these two mindsets actually approach failure?
Oh, that's where the contrast becomes really, really stark.
Okay, how so?
In a fixed mindset, failure, it's devastating. It feels like a judgment on you.
Like you're not good enough.
Yeah, you might start blaming others, making excuses. You might avoid challenges altogether. Anything to protect your ego.
It's almost like their whole identity is wrapped up in being good at something. So when they fail, it feels like a personal attack.
Precisely. It's like their worth as a person is on the line.
But with a growth mindset,
Failure is an opportunity to learn and grow.
it doesn't define you.
Right, it might sting a little bit, but it doesn't mean you're a failure as a person.
So it's not about avoiding failure. It's about learning from it and using it to improve.
Exactly.
That's a really powerful way to look at it.
And this brings us to the role of effort, which honestly is often misunderstood.
You mean like that idea that if you had to try really hard, it means you're not talented?
That's the fixed mindset, talking loud and clear.
So how does the growth mindset view effort?
Effort is everything. It's the key to unlocking your potential. You have to push yourself beyond your comfort zone, you know?
Wow. And that can be scary sometimes.
It can be, but it's also incredibly rewarding. Think about Seabiscuit, for example.
Oh, I love that story. The horse that wasn't supposed to be a champion but ended up beating the odds.
Exactly. Seabiscuit wasn't a natural-born winner, but through hard work and a belief in his potential, he achieved something incredible.
That's such a powerful reminder that potential isn't fixed. It can be developed through effort and perseverance.
Absolutely. And that's a lesson that applies to all of us, no matter what our goals are.
And this idea of effort ties into something else Dweck talks about, this somebody-nobody trap.
Oh, yeah, that's a great point.
What is that exactly?
The somebody-nobody trap, it's all about tying your self-worth to achievements. Seeking validation from others. You're constantly trying to prove you're somebody special.
When it never feels like enough.
Never. It's like you're running in place, constantly seeking approval, but never quite reaching that feeling of fulfillment.
It's like Bill Murray in Groundhog Day, stuck in this loop, using his knowledge to manipulate people, but never finding true happiness.
Oh, that's a perfect example. He's constantly trying to prove he's superior, but it's an empty pursuit because it's all based on that fixed mindset.
So how do we break free from this trap?
That's where the growth mindset comes in. It's about recognizing that your worth isn't tied to your achievements or what other people think of you.
It's about valuing learning and growth for their own sake.
Exactly. And that's what ultimately leads to true fulfillment.
It's a shift in perspective, from focusing on external validation to internal growth and development.
You got it. And that's the foundation for a truly meaningful life.
But isn't it hard to change your mindset once it's been, ingrained for so long?
It can be challenging, sure, but it's definitely possible. Dweck actually outlines a 3-step process for making this shift.
All ears.
First, you got to acknowledge those fixed mindset thoughts and feelings. Don't deny them, just observe them. You might even want to, write them down.
So it's about becoming aware of those negative thought patterns.
Exactly. Got to shine a light on them. And then you can start to identify your triggers.
Triggers.
Yeah, what are the situations that bring out those negative thoughts? Is it public speaking, receiving criticism, facing a new challenge?
It's different for everyone.
Totally. But once you know your triggers, you can start to challenge those fixed mindset thoughts head on.
So it's like creating a new internal dialogue, replacing those limiting beliefs with growth-oriented ones.
You got it. It's like having a debate with yourself.
Okay, I like that.
When your fixed mindset says, this is too hard, I should just give up, your growth mindset needs to step up and say, I can learn from this. Challenges help me grow.
This has given me a whole new perspective on how to approach challenges. Before we move on to the next part, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more deep dives like this. We'll be right back with more insights from Mindset.
It's amazing how much our mindsets, they can shape not just our own experiences, but also, entire organizations.
So we're talking about, collective mindsets, too, not just individual ones.
Yeah, exactly. Dweck talks about this idea of a culture of genius versus a culture of development. In a culture of genius, the focus is on, identifying the natural talents.
So it's all about, finding those superstars, the ones who are just naturally gifted.
Yeah. And rewarding them, of course, creating this competitive environment where everyone is constantly trying to prove themselves.
Almost like those companies that are obsessed with hiring only from the best schools. And then they create this cutthroat environment.
Exactly. And that can be really toxic.
Yeah.
Think about Enron.
Oh, yeah. What happened there?
Well, arrogance and fear of failure were just rampant,
And that led to their downfall.
Well, it definitely contributed to it. People were afraid to, admit mistakes, or ask for help.
It's a reminder that even, the most brilliant minds can fall prey to the fixed mindset.
Totally.
So what about the culture of development, then? What's that like?
Well, in those companies, they prioritize learning and growth for all employees. It doesn't matter where they started,
So it's about helping everyone reach their full potential.
Exactly. They see the potential in everyone, right? And they create this environment where it's safe to, take risks, make mistakes, and learn from them.
I like that. So it's not about weeding out the weak links, but about, helping everyone develop their strengths.
Precisely.
Do you have any examples of companies that have done this well?
Yeah, a great example is, GE under Jack Welch.
Oh, yeah. He was known for being a really effective leader.
He totally transformed GE from this, bureaucratic company to, a dynamic, innovative one.
By fostering a growth mindset.
Yeah, throughout the whole organization.
That's a pretty compelling argument for, cultivating a growth mindset in the workplace.
Totally. It can make a huge difference in, the success of a company.
So let's shift gears a bit and talk about how these mindsets play out in our personal lives, in our relationship.
Oh, relationships. This is where the fixed mindset can really wreak havoc.
Why is that?
Well, When we're operating from that fixed mindset, we tend to like judge our partners really harshly, you know?
So we're looking for their flaws.
We're not just looking for them, we're like magnifying
And
them.
then we get stuck in these like narratives about their character.
Exactly. Like if they don't meet our like fixed idea of what a partner should be, we might just give up on them.
Or the whole relationship.
Yeah, it's like we're searching for that like mythical perfect partner.
Which, of course, doesn't exist.
Right. And there's a great quote from relationship expert Daniel Weil.
What's the quote?
He says, choosing a partner is choosing a set of problems. There are no problem-free candidates.
Wow, that's so true.
It really is. So it's not about finding someone who's like perfect. It's about acknowledging their limitations and working together to grow.
Like as a couple.
Exactly. Communication, understanding, willingness to learn from each other. These are essential for any relationship.
And the growth mindset is like the foundation for all of that.
It is. It really is.
Dweck actually shares a lot of stories in the book about like how a growth mindset can transform relationships, even those that seem to be like on the brink of disaster.
Yeah, those are some really powerful stories.
What's one that really stands out to you?
Well, the story of Nicole, who is like stood up at the altar.
Oh, wow.
Instead of letting that just like destroy her,
Yeah.
you know, she chose to see it as a learning experience.
She had a growth mindset about it.
Yeah, she learned from the experience, she moved on, and she eventually found happiness with someone else.
It's amazing how resilient the human spirit can be.
It really is. And it just shows that even in the face of like heartbreak, we can choose to have a growth mindset
Right.
and use that to move forward.
It's not just romantic relationships where this applies though, right?
Oh, no, not at all. Dweck also talks about how mindsets affect our friendships, too.
So how does the fixed mindset show up in friendships?
Well, it can make us feel threatened by our friends' successes. You know, we might constantly compare ourselves to them.
So it's like that feeling of not being truly happy for your friend when something good happens to them.
Yeah. Because secretly you're thinking, why not me?
Yeah, that can definitely lead to some like negative feelings.
It can, but a growth mindset allows us to like celebrate our friends' achievements.
We can see them as inspiration, not competition.
Exactly. It's about supporting each other's growth.
It's about recognizing that everyone has their own unique journey.
It really is.
And speaking of harmful dynamics, Dweck also talks about bullying, which unfortunately is something a lot of young people experience.
Oh, bullying is a classic example of the fixed mindset in action.
I so.
It's all about judgment, you know? Establishing a hierarchy, putting others down to boost your own, like, fragile sense of self-esteem.
So it's not really about the victim at all.
It's about the bully's own insecurity.
They need to feel superior to someone else.
Exactly. But the good news is that even bullies can change.
Really?
Yeah. Dweck talks about the work of Stan Davis. He developed a program that helps bullies shift to a growth mindset.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
What does that program involve?
Well, it's about teaching bullies to focus on, like, effort and improvement, rather than judging themselves and others based on these, like, fixed traits.
So they learn to see themselves as works in progress.
Exactly. Capable of growth and change. And they learn to see others that way, too.
That's so important, especially for young people who are like still developing their sense of self.
And it makes me think about, like, the role of parents.
Yeah, how our own mindsets shape our kids.
Right. Because parents have a huge influence on their children's mindsets.
Even seemingly small things can have a big impact.
Oh, absolutely. Like how we praise our kids, for example.
We all want the best for our kids, but sometimes our good intentions can, like, backfire.
They totally can. Dweck warns against overpraising kids for their intelligence or talent.
Because it can actually foster a fixed mindset.
It can. It sends the message that, like, innate ability is all that matters.
Instead of effort and hard work.
Right. So instead of saying, like, you're so smart, we should praise their effort, their strategies.
There's persistence.
Yeah. It's about emphasizing the process of learning.
Not just the outcome.
Exactly. And this also applies to, like, how we handle discipline.
You mean like when our kids mess up?
Yeah. A growth mindset approach to parenting isn't about, like, being permissive. It's about setting clear expectations, right? But approaching discipline with a focus on teaching and learning.
Not just punishment.
Exactly. So instead of just giving consequences, we can ask our kids, what did you learn from this experience? You know, how could I handle it differently next time?
So it's about helping them develop those, like, critical thinking skills.
Yeah. And helping them, like, make better choices in the future.
What about setting goals for our kids? What's the growth mindset approach to that?
Dweck says we should be careful about, like, imposing fixed mindset ideals on our kids, like, getting into a specific college or excelling in a particular field.
I can see how that could create a lot of pressure.
It can. It's better to, nurture their curiosity,
Yeah.
their love of learning, their unique talents.
Instead of trying to fit them into some, predetermined mold.
Exactly. It's about letting them explore their own interests and passions.
This whole mindset approach, it can even transform education, right?
Oh, definitely. Dweck highlights the work of some incredible teachers like Dorothy DeLay and Marva Collins.
What did they do?
Well, they created these growth mindset classrooms
Where every student felt valued.
and capable of learning.
So it's about moving away from that idea that some kids are just smart and others are not smart.
It's about recognizing that everyone has the potential to learn.
And grow.
And these teachers, they really fostered that love of learning in their students.
Not just a fear of failure.
Right. And that's something we should all be striving for, I think, whether we're parents, teachers, or just lifelong learners ourselves.
It's about helping people unlock their potential, no matter where they're starting from.
And Dweck gives us a roadmap for how to do that.
Okay, so we've explored the power of mindset in so many different areas of life, from our relationships to our work to even education.
It's amazing how pervasive it is.
It really is. Now let's talk about some concrete steps we can take to shift to a growth mindset. Start reaping those benefits.
I'm excited to share some practical strategies with you. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more deep dives like this.
Okay, so we've talked about identifying those fixed mindset triggers, but how do we actually change them?
That's where the real work comes in, right? Once you know those triggers, you can start to challenge them. Dweck calls this talking back to your fixed mindset.
So it's like having this internal debate.
Exactly. It's about replacing those old beliefs with new ones.
Can you give me an example?
Remember that student who reached out to the grad school for feedback on her thesis? Even though it's tough to hear the criticism?
Yeah, and that quarterback who asked for help from the more experienced players.
They didn't let those setbacks define them.
They use them as fuel for growth.
Exactly. And that's the power of the growth mindset.
Yeah.
But, it's not always easy.
What about when those fixed mindset thoughts just keep coming back?
Yeah.
When you're feeling really discouraged.
That's when it's crucial to remember that feeling bad doesn't mean you have to stop doing good.
So you can still take those growth mindset steps, even when you're struggling.
Absolutely. Dweck even talks about how our dreams can become this battleground for the fixed mindset.
Oh yeah, I can relate to that. Those nightmares about failing.
Right. But even in those moments, we have a choice.
We can either give up or we can ask, what can I learn from this?
Exactly. It's not about ignoring those negative emotions. It's about not letting them control us.
So mindset change, it's a journey.
It is, yeah. It's not about reaching some perfect state of enlightenment. It's about constantly learning, growing, evolving.
This deep dive has been so insightful. We've talked about fixed and growth mindsets, their impact on our relationships, our work, even how we raise our children.
It's pretty amazing how much our mindsets affect our lives, right?
It really is. So to wrap things up, I want to leave our listeners with this. Think about an area of your life where you've been holding back. Maybe because you didn't think you had the talent or you were afraid of failing.
Yeah, what could you achieve if you had a growth mindset?
What new challenges might you embrace? What risks might you take?
It's all about believing in your ability to learn and grow.
That's a great place to end. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of mindset.
And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more thought-provoking content. We'll see you next time.